Are you tired of sitting on the sidelines watching opportunities pass you by? You know you have what it takes, but something's missing. It could be doubt, confidence, or fear that you're not representing your best self. Whatever it is, it stops now. It's time to align your passion with your purpose and seize the opportunities that await you. I want to see you get back in the game. So join me and my expert guests as we talk all things image, branding, and a bit of entrepreneurship. So if you're ready to gain insightful tips, tools, and strategies to help you amplify your presence and define your impact for greater success, sit with us as we talk about it. Welcome back to the Image Connection Show, where we go beyond the surface of branding, image, style, and the intersection between workplace community and what it takes to live and lead with impact. I'm your host, Jenny G. Berry, the founder of People Power Consultancy. I'm an international image consultant, brand strategist, and trainer. Today, I have with me Dr. Tariji, also known as Place Wizard, and I hope I said that correctly, Tajiri.
Tajiri. Uh-huh.
Also known as the Workplace Wizard. She is a leadership strategist, a cultureologist who transforms toxic workplaces into thriving spaces of retention, loyalty, and performance. The founder of Heritage Leadership Consulting, LLC. She's an Entrepreneur of the Year of 2025, also a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. She is the best-selling author of Power, Privilege, and Humility in Bipolar Faith, creator of the Oz Experience, a leadership intensive inspired by the Wiz. And she's been featured on Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, MSN, and NASDAQ Times Square Billboard. Now, I'm not going to read all of your accolades because I'm going to let you do it. You have a lot here. And so we're just going to get into how you're going to unpack how image branding intersects with the workplace culture. Welcome to the show, Tajiri.
Thank you. This is truly an honor, and I greatly appreciate you allowing me this space to not only be on your platform, but to pour into your viewers, pour into your listeners, because we all got something to say.
That's right. That's right. And valuable.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
valuable. So yeah, different people will find different things to take away that they can use, in their journeys, in their personal journeys. Now, I know that we mentioned that you talk about you're the workplace wizard, and you talk about cultural differences, I guess, for lack of a better word. You can clarify that. But as an image consultant who works with women in leadership, I have become aware, especially today, of some of the issues that organizations face, but they are not always addressing those issues. So can you talk about the biggest signs of, workplace culture and what leaders can do to solve some of the problems that are going on there?
I'll begin with two simple words: situational awareness. Uh,
Yeah.
being in tuned with what's happening and what's going on around. Now, when I say, as far as being the culturologist,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned as far as literal different cultures that are there, I'm honing in on the culture of the organization,
Sure. Okay.
not necessarily individual cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And once that culture of the organization is established and is solid and is found, then the people figure out where they fit in,
Mm-hmm.
and or if it's a good fit. If this is the place
Right.
that I need to be. And then, of course, we all have been, dare I say, bamboozled to where they have presented one thing, they do that bait
Mm-hmm.
and switch. And then once you actually get in, you find out the nuts and bolts and the nitty gritty, and that it is not what it was that they actually sold to you. And then that's
Yeah.
when the adjustment becomes, or the internal, shall I say, struggle fight.
Mm-hmm.
Do I stay here or do I go? And big part of that has to do with the leadership that's there and how they help and make you feel that sense of belonging
Mm-hmm.
in the organization. And based on what that leadership looks like and how they have set that is going to be the determining factor, again, whether you stay or whether you go. Because if we can be quite honest, it ain't always about the money.
That's
Money
right.
is good, but my peace of mind
Mm-hmm. Priceless.
means more than anything. Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And I'm
Priceless.
sure we have all been in those places or at those jobs to where we literally dread going in and we get to work 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes, an hour earlier, just so we can get our minds right
Yeah.
before we walk in the front door,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can deal with the foolery or whatever the case may be. Now, the
Yeah.
flip side to that coin is we get there early because we enjoy the environment that's there and we want to immerse ourselves in it
Mm-hmm.
and dive deep into what it is that's there. So it's just a different way of looking at culture
Mm-hmm.
and how leadership plays a huge part in what the culture is and how it's portrayed and how other people are affected by the culture that is created.
Right. Yeah. And so when we talk about, you talked about either dreading going to work or being excited about going, to work. And sometimes it's overwhelming, especially when you feel like you can't be your full self. And I know that you're talking about organizational culture, but it also does become personal because if leadership is not, as you said, making you feel supported and welcome and doing all that they can to ensure that you are on a path to elevation, in whatever role that it is that you're in. Do you feel like, or do you think there is enough of that in the workplace? Because I feel just from, I'm not in corporate, it's been years, but I work with women and, people that are in corporate organizations and leadership roles. And sometimes even them, as much education as they have, as much as of knowledge and experience they have, sometimes they do still feel stagnant. Or I'm going to go as far as say that these women are sometimes the opposite. Male figures are sometimes intimidating them, trying to hinder them from moving forward. How do you think that can be, you know, addressed, and what it's going to take to change that in the culture?
So that's actually a great segue as far as my framework and how I go
Mhm.
about delivering it. As you see, the workplace wizard there, and that comes from the foundation of The Wiz, which was one
Mhm.
of my favorite movies as a
Yes.
child. No shade to the Wizard of Oz, but as a child, The Wiz
Hmm.
was more culturally appropriate. Dare I say culture again there for me, and I
Yeah.
was able to understand it at so many other levels, and it was
Hmm.
much deeper for me. So many more layers that was to The Wiz. And even to this day, I can still watch it as if I've never seen it before, despite me being able to recite every line, recite every song. I still watch it as if I've never seen it before. And now that I'm older, I see it through a leadership lens.
Hmm.
And so, what does that leadership lens look like? You've got Dorothy, who is the visionary or the team leader. And then she's got her team of the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Scarecrow, the Lion, and the Tin Man.
Hmm.
And then from there, they have to work together with their different pedigrees, with their different strengths, with their different weaknesses, and they have to work together in order to be able to get to the goal of seeing the wizard. And then the wizard, within his own special place, within his own special being, is not always what some leaders or what you think is it's supposed to be there.
Hmm.
There's that authenticity, that mask that is hiding behind. So I give you that Cliff Notes version of what I do and how I do it, because it ties into who Dorothy is for me. I label that leader as Dorothy. Dorothy is she's not seen, she's overlooked, she's swept up under the rug. Her value is not appreciated. So I speak and talk to that person. And of course, when you get that person that feels that way, that they're not supposed to be there, that they don't have that sense of belonging within that organization, then that's what's going to lead into the disengagement. And once you get that disengagement, what that ultimately does for the organization itself is it affects the bottom line. And then people begin to leave, they check out.
Mhm.
And, again, money is not everything, but it does play a big part as to how people operate and maneuver within the organization.
Mhm.
On the organization side, as far as when your talent leaves, your human resource leaves, that is your biggest line item.
Right. Yes.
Your biggest line item.
Mhm.
And just to replace that one person or those few people, I'll even push it to five. Just to replace those, it's going to cost 1.5 times minimally
Mhm.
of their salary, because now you've got to think about the benefits, you've got to think about retraining, you've got to think about recultivating. I mean, it's just so much more that's involved in that. So I equate it to dating. If you do what you did to get them,
Mhm.
to keep them, you don't have to worry about them leaving
That's right.
again.
That's
So
right.
just take that same mantra and put it within that environment of corporate America. So what I do is I come in and I help them stop the bleeding. I help them stop the profit from going into rehiring and attrition, to where it truly does affect the stakeholders, and they are the main beneficiary of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So dare I say the profit protector.
The profit protector. I like that. I like that. And it's real because, as you said, it's going to take so much more revenue to retrain someone when all you have to do is pour into the people that are already there. They already know what your brand is. They already know what the expectation is. So just pour into that person and make them okay with coming to work, make them excited about coming to work. That's really what we want, is to love what we do so that when we're working, it's effortless, right? And you talk about storytelling, and you just talked about your Oz intensive program. You talk about storytelling and the Oz experience and how storytelling helps people in leadership to develop. Can you talk a little bit about that?
People remember more about how they feel, and when it goes and it taps into a place of nostalgia,
Mm-hmm.
or it gets those feelings, bubbling up within you. And when you're able to identify with something through storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
then that connects them a lot more, whether that be buy into the goal, whether that be truly understanding what it is that you're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
what it is that you're trying to communicate, the message that you're trying to get across. If you put it, I believe, if you put it in a storytelling firm or position, then they're able to understand it a lot more. And it goes further than just that moment.
Yes.
It goes with them, you know, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, two
Mm-hmm.
years from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now. And I can even
Mm-hmm.
give an example of that. I was one of many examples, dare I say.
Yes.
Um, I was involved in a direct sales organization, and was was heading towards the top 2%, the top 1% of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And my leader at the time, life happens, and sometimes we're not able to accomplish the goals that we originally set to, and we have to do a reset and reconfigure and get things right so that we can be in a good position to be able to accomplish the goals.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular month, I can't tell you what it was, what the goal was, or whatever, but I know my commitment that I originally said I was unable to feel because life was happening.
Yes.
And I had to deal with that, because if not, I wouldn't have been able to be in the mind space to fulfill the goal. And these were the words that she told me. And it stood out. And still to this day, I can remember it as if it were 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
And those words were, "You cost me money."
Oh, that was a dagger.
Right. And that helped me to truly understand what it's like, as far as that sense of belonging and
Mm-hmm.
understanding what true leadership is. Because if leadership is just based on you, the leader itself, and not truly
Yes.
empowering
Mm-hmm.
and growing and helping someone to exceed and to move forward, then you're not really doing the position of leadership in
Yes.
service. It's
Yes.
a true disservice.
Mhm.
And that helped me to shape how it is that I saw leadership and what its true purpose was. And I never wanted anyone else to feel
Mhm.
that same disgust, disappointment, uh,
Yes.
distrust that
Mhm.
I had at that moment. And of course, life is cyclical. So if I was feeling that,
Mhm.
one, how many other people were feeling that within the organization, and then two, how many people feel that outside of the organization within the workplace.
Mhm.
Again, life is cyclical. We all go through the same things
That's right.
based off of what our pedigree is, what our resources are,
Mhm.
is how we deal differently or how we react differently to the situation. But we all go through the same thing. We all
Yes,
go
we
through the
do.
same thing at some
Mhm.
point.
I just had a conversation about that. Well, actually, it was an interview talking about we all have barriers, and many times when you find yourself in a room with of people, and those people you find out have those same things in common, then you're not on an island alone. Then there's an issue somewhere. I was talking about actually it's empowering too to be somewhere where we are facing some of the similar barriers, some similar fears and such, not just in the workplace, but really in life in general, but in business as well. And you talk about your cultureologist. Can you, because I've never heard that before, and I know you touched on it, but in a bigger sense, what does that really mean to for someone that's listening and not familiar with the term?
So if we just break down,
Hmm.
I learned this in grade school as far as breaking down words
Yeah.
and what they mean.
Hmm.
Typically, when you have ologist that's on the back of something, it truly means the study of whatever
Yes.
that
Hmm.
is. So psychologist, this is study of psychology.
Yes.
And you can go on and on and on
Hmm.
from there. So it truly is for me the study of culture and how that affects the people involved
Hmm.
in that culture,
Yeah.
and the effect that it has on them, and even pushing the envelope further, not just the effect that it has on them, but how it goes further out into the community, how it goes further out into the lifestyles of
Hmm.
how people live, how they choose to live, their understanding, their perspectives, their belief system. I mean, it just ties into that all together. It's not just one segmented part of the work environment of
Right.
corporate America.
Hmm.
Everything ties
It
together.
does. Yeah, it certainly does. I always say with what I do in branding, in image, you're gonna be. It affects everything that we do. You can't go to one space and be this person and not, and then go to another space and be another person, and those things are not tied. What you do is not going to tie to the outside actions and world.
Not
So you take.
congruent.
Hmm. You're taking, you might show up differently, but you're going to experience those experiences are going to be everywhere that you show up, so to speak.
Absolutely. I mean, it's transferable. And I
Hmm.
say that, I guess probably to give a little bit of a nugget to go with that and simplify, because I'm all about simplification so that
Yeah.
people can understand and then it becomes executable once they leave my space.
Hmm.
I say it this way: inherent in the seed is the seed.
Mm.
So if you plant a watermelon seed, what's going to come out?
I hope a watermelon. you
You're not
know.
going to get a cantaloupe.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna get a
You're
watermelon.
going to get
So
a watermelon.
inherent in the seed is the
Yeah.
seed,
That's.
and that's what's going to come out wherever you are, as far as being true to thine own self and that authenticity. And
Yeah.
that ties into leadership as well. If you're not authentic, people are going to see it. They're going to feel it,
Hmm.
and you can only have your representative be around for so long.
That's right. Yes.
Eventually that's going to wear out, and you're
Hmm.
going to get to that place of complacency and to where you're comfortable with what it is that you've always done before,
Hmm.
because of what your history has, what your history has been is what you're going to go back to, because again, you're comfortable with that. It's
Hmm.
natural for you, and you don't have to strain to try and be a
Yeah.
chameleon in the different environments that you show up in the different places that you show up in.
Sure. Yeah. And just on the flip of that, like you said, you become complacent. And that doesn't mean that complacency doesn't mean that I'm okay in whatever space that is. But like you said, we become so used to being that chameleon. And so it's difficult for us to find that authenticity and how to, show up fully as ourselves. I have talked about being chameleon, and we're blending in so much at some point that no one sees us. We're afraid to be seen. We're afraid to use our voices and such, which again, that comes back, I think, to the environment of the culture. Sometimes it intimidates, unknowingly perhaps, intimidates some of the teen, because the teen now feels like they can't voice their opinions. They can't impart their ideas because either they're not going to be taken seriously or they have a place and they need to stay in their place. I worked with a young man, and he said the very same thing, that he was an engineer. He started this company as an intern, but they hired him, but he was still sitting behind the desk, which wasn't what he went to school for. He wasn't a computer engineer or anything like that. He went to school to work on these roadways and stuff. And so I told him that you have to do something. You can't wait for others to tap you on the back. You have to do something to make it, to allows them to see you. Just go up to your superior and ask the questions that you want to ask and let them know where you want to go. And he did that. And he called me within a week's time. And they had sent him out on a job. Now, had he not, used his power, and, he didn't feel empowered at first, but if he didn't use that power to stand up and ask his superior, what is it how am I doing? And what is it that I can do to do, what is it that I can do to be better so that I can get other, projects or whatever. But so it goes back again to trusting your leaders and knowing that they are not untouchable. So it's up to leadership, right, to show their team members that they can talk to them and if they're approachable. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah. And so you branded yourself as the culturologist. It's branded. I mean, it sounds great. When people think of you, they're going to think about culturologist. But was that intentional, or did it just happen over time? And how did you come up with that brand?
So,
Long story.
It's really not a long story, but it's a deep story.
Okay.
I'm very intentional about making sure, which goes to the branding and goes to the image, that what it is that I do is clear to whoever it is that I'm speaking with. And if it's not clear, then it's going to be intriguing enough to where like, as you just asked, what exactly is culturology? How is that? So now that opens up a conversation to where I can dive deeper into what it is that I do, how I do it, and how it affects organizations, their bottom lines, and what have you, just as we've done today. Sure. So just being very clear, and I'm a wordsmith. So things will come to me sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes while I'm on my walk, because I have to maintain the temple. So that I can do the work. There is a lot of work to be done. So, just different ways that I have just opened up that space as far as being the visionary and allowing the creativity to come to me and how that message needs to be conveyed to others so that there is that clarity in not only what it is that I can do, but how I can help them and how they can begin to see, oh, she's the one that I need to go to for XYZ if I have this particular problem. She is my answer for blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And that ties into storytelling. If people know your story, they know not only what you offer, but what led to you being offering this, like you're the culturologist. And people always, sometimes they don't know what an image consultant is. So you have to kind of explain that a little bit more. And then for me, there's a story behind that. It's not a long story, but like you said, it's a deep story. But if I can give parts of that story to others to kind of motivate them and let them see and make them see that it doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter where you come from. Our stories are always going to resonate with someone and hopefully inspire them to continue on to, and I know we're kind of getting off the subject of this, but it's still leadership. It's a leadership. We're all leaders. And so if we can just step into that role and believe that we are, and then again, our stories help to bring others into us so that we can help him draw people to us rather, so that we can help them. And you've given us, like I said, so much information here and clarity on the culturologist, because you explained that well, perfectly, where people can understand what it is that you do and who you are. If someone is looking to contact you or get in touch with you, connect, what would that look like? How can they do that?
I keep it simple so that you don't have to go look for me here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Just simply go to my website.
Uh-huh.
It's Dr. Tajiri, Tajiri.com. From
Okay.
there, you can find out more about Dorothy and how she shows up. You can find out more about the Workplace Wizard and the Oz experience, how that is the tool to be able to help leaders and those decision makers that have to go in and say, okay, we got to do something about this bottom line because this human resource is bleeding, and we need some help with that. So from there, you'll be able to see all of my social media handles and where I am, and you can just follow me from there. But I keep it simple. Again, childhood stories, the whiz, simplicity, so that they can go in and execute it once they leave my space. And that is, again, my website, dr.tajiri.com. Very simple.
All right, pretty good. Any resources that you want to share with people that you might, or you have anything going on that you want to promote while we're here before we go to break?
Wow. Busy little bee.
Yeah.
Have some workshops coming up. I am about to do some intimate intensives so that we can really, really deep dive into, being able to tap into that leader so that leader shines, as you mentioned with that gentleman, so that they can step into their next and not be just invisible and shrinking, and not being able to step into their gifts, to step into their strengths, step into their powers. So that's where I'm going to be honing in on that, so that they can be great and either be a greater asset to the organization if the organization recognizes that. If not, let's take these talents and go somewhere else. I do appreciate what it is that I do.
Yeah.
That you do. So that's one thing that I have going on there. And then, of course, I do have books. I've got a what I call the Emerald Code bundle. It has 2 books, which is Power, Privilege, and Humility, Unveiling the Layers of Leadership Lessons Learned. And then there's also Bipolar Faith, the roller coaster ride of spiritual resilience and emotional vulnerability. So with that bundle, you purchase that, then you'll get a pre-order for the Emerald Code book that's coming out. And then thirdly, I do have some free resources that are available to help get that jump start and get some immediate transformation. So if they're interested in that, they can definitely hit me up on my website, and I'll make sure that they get access to that, because I want people to grow. I know this is grammatically incorrect, but it ain't all about me. It's helping others. I have been given to be able to help others, and not to just keep it and hoard it to myself, because it's not about me. It's not about me. And if we as a community are stronger and grow and excel, then I've done my part.
That's right. And as you said, giving freely, not trying to charge for every piece of information that we have. I mean, I think that's beautiful that you and others, and myself included, can do that. I think there's enough clients out here that we can't grow and we can't expand if we're holding everything close to the chest. We have to be able to lend our knowledge and experience to others that may not be in a place where they can, at the moment financially pay me. Sometimes it's okay to just reach back and give. So that's beautiful. That's a part of community, So yeah, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we'll come back with Tajiri Brackens and talk about her being the culturologist.
You're not just building a career, You're building a reputation and that of your business. At People Power Consultancy, we coach ambitious professionals to refine their image and shape a personal brand that opens doors. Because the way you show up is your message. If you're tired of blending in, second-guessing your presence, or feeling unseen, this is your moment to stand out with purpose and polish. Visit peoplepowerconsultancy.com to start your transformation. Your next level has a look. Let's define it.
All right. So to Jerry, before we left, we were just talking about giving and pouring into others, those that may not be able to just come in and immediately your free resources, so to speak. But I did want to ask you about leadership and leaders, how people can be seen, even if they're not, even if they don't consider themselves as leaders or in a leadership role. Again, I think that we're all leaders because we're all leading on something and someone is watching and following us in everything that we do. But why do you think so many talented professionals, I spoke about the young man, are getting overlooked, not getting the opportunities or not given the tools? And again, you mentioned how you apply for one job and you go in and you're doing something totally different. But what do you say to those people that are being overlooked and not really appreciated in their roles when we know that they have what it takes to excel?
As they say in the street, stand 10 toes down on who you are, and when you know and you are true to thine own self, it is eventually going to shine. Again, inherit in the seed is a seed.
Yeah.
So what you're good at, what your strengths are, they're going to eventually shine in whatever environment you are in. And I often say grow where you're planted, because everything, there's a reason, and that could be the preparation for whatever your next is.
Yes.
Whether it be an immediate next or a future next, it's going to let you know how to be able to handle that type of situation once it comes again. So if I may say, embrace it. It may be hard to do, but embrace it, because there's a lesson to be learned. There's something there. It's a tool to be gained. There's knowledge to be learned, to be able to take you to that next, that you're going to have to go back and pull on for whatever challenge or whatever situation comes about in the future. So don't always take it as a negative thing, as an adverse situation. Just embrace it, because it has its purpose for the future. And it's kind of like when we go through our collegiate careers or even our high school careers, you have to start at a freshman and then move and graduate to the sophomore.
Yes.
Then the junior, and then a senior, and graduate from that particular curriculum or that courses at the time. You can't come in as a freshman and then expect to graduate in the next week or the next 2 weeks, because there's a process that you have to go through.
Yeah.
That you have to learn. They're your prerequisites so that you can actually graduate and cross the stage.
That's good. And we do want instant, gratification. We don't sometimes want to do the work, but we want the work, and we don't want to. We don't understand. Well, some don't understand that it is a process, especially young people coming out of, like you said, graduating, and they're going into college. And I spoke about the young man that was an intern. There is a reason why you're in this space and learning, and so that you can take those experiences to the next level, so that they're pretty much ensuring that you're doing the work here, you're getting all the tools and knowledge that you have here, so that you are prepared. Everything is about preparation and getting to the next level. You talk a bit about blending pop culture, leadership, and emotional intelligence in your work. Talk about how that's a powerful combination.
It's all about the relationships that you're building with the people. If you don't have a relationship with them, then you have your culture is shot. Your organization is shot. Your product is shot. Everything is built on relationships, and that's both professionally and personally. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you a couple of examples, two sides of the same coin as it relates to relationships. So let's say that you ask someone to do a favor for you,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a gazillion things that are on their plate. They don't have a plate, they have a platter. As
Mm-hmm.
far as
That's
what all they're responsible for and their obligations and everything. So they've got a lot that's going on with them personally, but yet you come to them and you ask them for a favor and you
mm-hmm.
have a great relationship with them, then they will figure out a way to get it done
That's right.
despite having all of those other things and those other obligations that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even depending on what it is that you ask of them for that favor, it may be something that they can do real quick in about 5 or 10 minutes or
Mm-hmm.
minutes or a relatively short amount of time. They can go ahead and knock it out and then get back to their other responsibilities. Whereas if you don't have a good relationship with someone, and you ask them for a favor,
Mm-hmm.
they will do it because of their character, but not necessarily try and figure out a way to go ahead and get it done
Yeah.
expeditiously. They may
Mm-hmm.
wait till the 11th hour to say, okay, check that off of the list. I got that
Yeah.
done. And that could hinder you as far as what it is that you're trying to do,
That's
but
true.
you're not getting it in a timely manner. So
Mm-hmm.
there's two sides to that coin as to how relationships work. And then I'll push it as far as this other example. So if you think about a farmer that may be self-sufficient,
Mm-hmm.
can grow their own crops, they don't need, anybody else to really come in and do it. They're self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
However, that farmer does have to go somewhere and get the seeds. That farmer does have to have some type of irrigation system. That farmer does have to have someone or something to come and till the land. So that either is manpower
Mm-hmm.
or that's equipment that can come in and do it,
Right.
which means that they have to go outside of themselves to be able to get that assistance so
Mm-hmm.
they can come back and be self-sufficient. So I
Yes.
say all of that to say and use those two examples that we are interdependent, we're codependent on each other, and we cannot be an island by ourselves. We do need each other in order
Mm-hmm.
to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
Even if we are well skilled and well versed, there's something that we have to go to someone else for their
That's
assistance.
right. I'm so glad you said that because I talk about that a lot too. No one does it alone. Those others looking in from the outside may see you actually doing the work alone, but we all have to depend on someone to get it done. Like you said, the resources that we need to get it done. I can't think of one thing that I do, even in a daily basis, that I don't have to reach out to someone else for something, or even if it's not a someone, something to help me to complete the job or whatever it is that I'm trying to do. Even make the meal. Like I have to have a pan to make a meal. You know what I mean? So we have to use our resources. And I do want to talk about this because you and I talked about this before the show. I want to talk about your bipolar faith, what that means to you. I'm interested in.
Whew, um, as a kid,
Mhm.
did you ever play double dutch?
I sure did. I tried. I wasn't as good as the originators, but I tried. Hmm.
So with double dutch, you got to get your rhythm. So it's like,
Hmm.
okay, how is this gonna go? Am I gonna go in? Am I gonna go out? Am I gonna
Yeah.
go in? What's the right time
Hmm.
for that? So with bipolar faith, I'm speaking for me.
Hmm.
And there are others, but and I'm not here to put my religion or my beliefs
No.
on anyone else. Um, Studying the Bible and understanding the Bible, I know what it says,
Hmm.
but there are times in life where that ain't matching with what it is that I'm actually experiencing.
Yes.
And it's not that I'm questioning what is there, but I'm questioning the circumstances and why am I not seeing the manifestation of what it is that I read and what I believe. As they say that math ain't mathing.
Yes.
You told me that I'm the heir of Abraham, but then I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get this bill paid? How am I going to
Hmm.
pay the electric bill? How am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to pay the cell phone bill, or whatever the case may be? And people have their own situations. I'm just giving
Sure.
here, but yet I know that you'll supply all of my needs,
All of them.
and you're going to come through at the right time, because you are an on time God.
That's right.
But we see that and we experience that, and then the carnal side of us is like, I ain't feeling you, kind of like being in the workplace. I ain't feeling this environment. This ain't working for me. Where you at, God? Again, I know that's grammatically incorrect, but where are you? Because this I ain't feeling you right now, and I feel like I have abandoned you, which goes completely against I will never leave you nor forsake you.
Yes.
So being able to tie into that and have that solid foundation, to be able to move you and push you forward, because I mean, we are, again, nothing is new under the sun. We all go through it, where we begin to question our existence. Our being. What is it that I'm here for? What am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be going? Why is this happening to me? All of those things. And within Bipolar Faith, how it actually began, was I was a contributing author to a collaborative book project. And to this day, my chapter, Bipolar Faith, remains one of the top 5 chapters talked about in the book. And then just a divine tweet happened and said, you need to do a full book on this, not just a few pages. So that's how the whole book came about. And in that book, that chapter, why it remains one of the top 5 is because I have a very candid conversation with God. Very, very candid conversation with God. It's like, okay, I'm going outside of my home, pouring into people, giving them my very best, giving from, dare I say, my overflow and what's in my saucer. But when I go home, I am totally shrinking, and it is a complete contradiction to what it is that I'm able to give to others.
Right.
At that time, what I was able to breathe life into them about, and with that stands, and we teach best what we need most. That's another show, another day.
That is
what we need most.
Yeah.
And because of that, having those conversations with God, it was, okay, again, where are you at? I ain't feeling you. Why am I having to go through this? You're not showing up like you said. I know that you can do all things and you can change things instantly. Your word doesn't come back void. Because you're not like, I mean, just all of this stuff that was taught, and that I would need at such times as those, that I could go back and pull on to give me the strength to move forward and to get out of that situation. So within that conversation that I was having, it was silence. I wasn't getting my answers, or at least not getting the answers in which I thought I should be getting them.
Yes.
Let me be clear on that. And once I stepped back and pretty much said, okay, I submit and truly understand, not my will, but thine be done. I stepped back and let him do what he needed to do, because he was already at the places and in the situations of what was ahead of me before I even got there. But I couldn't get there, again, prerequisites, until I learned the lesson here first and then be able to apply it later.
Absolutely.
So that point and said, not my will, but thine be done. And I stepped back and let him do him as only the way that he can do him. When things started to open up, and he was like, now you're ready, my child. I can move and do what it is that I have already prepared for you. I can put you in those situations. I can make those connections for you, because now you are ready.
Ready.
You're ready. So that's how Bipolar Faith came about. And I give tools to be able to help people that are going through those same type of situations, not necessarily the exact ones that I was going through, but how it fits into their lives as far as situation of despair and disgust, to be able to move forward and to get through that so that they can get to their next level and move and be more powerful.
So very important, because I think all of our journeys, and I know I'm a woman of God, so if I'm saying something and someone doesn't agree with or doesn't like, then I just can't do anything about that because I know that we do have to stand on our faith. I don't think anything is possible without it, because of these ebbs and flows that we have in life, in business, in career. If you don't have that faith to stand on, you're going to crumble.
Absolutely.
You're going to crumble. So, and again, you mentioned being ready. We ask for things prematurely because we want it and we want it when we want it. But when we don't get those answers that we want immediately, we feel like he's turned us back on us. But again, he's refining us, making sure that when he bestows these gifts upon us and these blessings upon us, that we're using them properly, and also using it in a way that is going to make him proud, that we are using our gifts again properly and using it for the good of him and his kingdom.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Just wanted to, learn a bit about that because it struck some interest. I was instantly interested in it, bipolar faith. So thanks for explaining that to myself and the audience. And in closing, I have to talk about it. I am an image consultant, and I do know the importance of presence and branding. And I do know that presence is powerful. It's very impactful. How we show up, how people are seeing us, and what we are. I don't want to use the word project, but what we are presenting to the world. Dr. Tajiri will be back soon. She got disconnected, but again, as an image consultant, I do realize the importance of presence and the power of presence. If we are not presenting ourselves as who we say we are, there she is. All right.
Technology is great when it works, but sometimes it will do its own thing.
When you're live, it is what it is. So no big deal. I was just talking about how powerful present is and how really intentionality, how we need to be intentional about how we show up in these spaces. Can you talk about how important image is in its relation to leadership? How we beyond appearances, but just the image as a total.
It all goes to legacy and how it is that you are going to be remembered in that particular environment and what have you. That's bugging me. I have two different cameras here and they went and changed on me. So I don't know what happened. But anywho, it is how and you're showing up. What's the type of legacy that you are going to leave once you leave that particular person's presence? So for me, I am an energy giver and not an energy taker, an energy sucker. I'm not a leech as it relates to being an energy giver. And with that said, once you leave my presence, I want you to be able to feel good or that you got something that was beneficial for you to be able to move forward. How many of us have been in situations where we find out XYZ person is going to be there, or we walk into the room and we see them and our whole disposition changes because of that one person and the energy that they project. I don't want to be that person to where people want to be like Forrest Gump, run, Forrest, run,
right,
direction when they find out that I'm there. I want to be that person that has that. You remember Cheers when Norm came? Like, Norm! I want to be that type of person.
Yes.
When I walk into an environment, when I walk into a circle, so that people feel good about not just me, but more importantly about themselves. Because we never really know what people are going through and what they're having to deal with. So if that interaction with me, whether it be 2 minutes, whether it be 5 minutes, whether it be 10 minutes, an hour, however long, I want to be that positive injection to them and not something where it's like, God, I don't ever want to be around that person again. I don't want to see them. They drain me. And we've been around those people that completely drain everything out of you and you dread being in their presence. So that's what image and branding looks like to me. It is the legacy that you're leaving, your footprint, whether it be digital, whether it be in person. Make sure that you are consistent across the board and
Mhm.
how you're showing up. Um,
Yes.
Again, with your physical appearance. I mean, granted, we can change,
Yeah.
change your hair color. We can, lose some weight. We can do whatever. We can
Mhm.
change that. But to the core, you're still the same.
That's right. The essence of who you are will not change. You are still the
Inherent
same.
in the seed is a seed.
That's right. You
What
are
I
who
said
you are.
earlier.
Yeah, but we do sometimes have to refine that.
Mhm.
Depending, like you've mentioned before, depending on our circumstances or what our circumstances have been, the environment perhaps that we have grown up in. If you're moving, I always say, as your position changes, so much your presence.
Mhm.
So yeah, you have to be intentional about everything that you do. And I hate to say it, but sometimes if you have not grown up in a space that you know um, that offered refinement, and I'm not saying that you have to be this perfect image of a
Mhm.
person. You want to be yourself, but you also want to be approachable. You also want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for opportunities, and that when those opportunities knock, you're prepared. You're prepared. But then when those opportunities are taken to someone else, they can think, "Well, darn, I know someone who
Mhm.
can do this for you. I know someone that I can refer you to," and that's not going to happen if you're presenting yourself as a wild boar. You have to be the presence. What you're taking into a space is the deciding factor.
Absolutely.
Or
As they say, first impressions being the lasting impressions, because if I see that you are polished, that you took the time to, get up, get dressed,
mm-hmm.
put on makeup, or, just get the whole grooming process together, then
Yes,
if you are that meticulous about how you show up in that way, then
yeah,
how are you showing up in the business itself?
that's right.
Your reflection of how you show up in your business.
That's
And
so
what's that
true.
saying? How you do anything is how you do everything.
Everything. Yeah.
So, let that be, that's a part of your branding. It's what lasts longer than
Mm-hmm.
the immediate interaction with
Yeah,
someone.
absolutely.
Even if I can push the envelope further, on the branding side as it relates to your social media, how you're showing up there on your
Mm-hmm.
digital print, is that in alignment with who you are
Right.
in person? Reminds me of the old song, oh Lord, who is it? I want to say the Delphonics, what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So wherever you see me, it's going to be consistent and the same all of the way across. I'm not
that's
trying to be
right.
a chameleon, be one way with one person, be another way in another setting, or
Mm-hmm.
with somebody else.
It's hard.
That's too much.
Hard
That's
work.
like a
That's
lie.
hard work.
It's like a lie. You
Yeah.
got to remember what you said here, and what.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I didn't tell them that, but I told this person that. No, that's
Yeah.
too much. Let me just be consistent all of the way across, so
Mm-hmm.
to remember what was done, what the lie was that was told.
Right. You don't have
Again,
to.
what you see is what you get.
Yes.
So if you see me walking on the street, you say hey to me, hey, I'm going to embrace you just the same as
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking, right now on this platform.
Right.
What
Yeah.
you see is what you get.
Hmm. Definitely. It doesn't matter where you are, where you go. The essence of you is going to go with you, and just be intentional about that. It's your reputation. You're
Absolutely.
putting your reputation out there, like you said. Whether you're online, whether you're at the grocery store, wherever, you want to make sure that. Again, I know it's a cliche, but look like who you say you are, and act like what you say you are. You know what I mean? Your behavior matters too. So there is no separation. No separation. So
No.
again, Dr. Tajiri, this was really good, really, really good, and I appreciate you coming on. Again, if you want to get in contact with Dr. Tajiri, you can find her links here. They're going to be Dr. hyphen Tajiri.com. That's her website. Her email address is going to be info at Dr. hyphen Tajiri.com. And that's Tagiri for those that's listening and not on the video.
It's a J. I think you said G. It's
Oh,
Tajiri.
Tajiri.com. Her YouTube channel is at the Workplace Wizard, and then
Mhm.
LinkedIn and Facebook is going to be at one Tajiri Brackens, and Instagram is at Tajiri Brackens. And I think that was clear enough, but it is here for you to see. And again, she has some books, so visit her, and resources, so visit her website for those. For me, if you want to learn more about what I do, you can visit my website at peoplepowerconsultancy.com. I'm on LinkedIn as Jenny Dewberry. I have a YouTube channel. It's called this live stream is the Image Connection Show on YouTube. And then I have also a book. It's a guide that helps women in leadership kind of prepare for their roles and teaches them how to show up in their roles. It's called Why Image Matters, and that is on my website. So go grab your free copy to that as well. All right. Thanks for listening to the audience. And remember that presence is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Cultural differences or the organizational culture is finish that for me, Dr. Taraji, Jerry. Sorry.
So is your question about the culturologist part and how that fits into workplaces? Is that what your question is?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So understanding that leaders help to shape the image of what an organization looks like. So being the culturologist, I'm going to help come in and help the leaders to be able to shape that image of the organization so that the human resource, which is the greatest line item, doesn't bleed for the organization itself. And it's all in how they show up and show out for their people so that they stay and you have more productivity, more proficiency, and longevity and loyalty from the employees.
All right. Well, thanks for closing us out with that. And again, thank you to the listeners and the viewers for spending your time with us this morning. We know that you could have been anywhere else and you chose to spend your time with us. So we appreciate that. And until next time, have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in